It started with a whisper, barely a sound, like someone breathing beside her ear. When Emily first moved into the small Victorian house on Maple Hollow Road, she thought she'd finally found peace. A quiet town, a low price, a chance to start over after the divorce. The real estate agent mentioned the house had been vacant for a few years, but that didn't bother her. She wanted space, silence, and somewhere to heal. On the first night, she noticed the house felt alive. The air inside was strangely still, yet she could hear faint creaks like soft footsteps above her. She laughed it off. Old house, old bones, nothing more. But then, just as she turned off the lights and crawled into bed, she heard it. A whisper, low, close, like someone was standing right beside her. She froze, her breath caught. The sound came again, a single word, impossible to make out, but it sent a chill down her spine. She sat up, turned on the lamp, and searched the room. Nothing, just the hum of the heater and the ticking clock on the nightstand. Maybe she was overtired. Maybe her mind was playing tricks on her. That's what she told herself. But as the night stretched on, she could swear she heard soft murmurs through the walls, like a conversation happening somewhere deep in the house. Male and female voices, calm, almost tender, but echoing faintly as if through water. When she finally drifted off to sleep, one last whisper brushed her ear. This time, she heard the word clearly. It said, "Welcome." The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows. The house looked harmless, even beautiful. She laughed at her own imagination. But deep down, a strange feeling lingered, like she wasn't alone anymore. She didn't know it yet, but the whispers weren't just in her head. They were waiting, listening, and before the week was over, they would speak again, louder, closer.
The next few days were ordinary. Almost. Emily worked remotely, spent her mornings at the kitchen table with coffee, trying to ignore the faint tapping in the walls. She told herself it was just the house settling. That's what people said about old houses. But something about the rhythm of those sounds felt deliberate, not random creaks, patterns, like someone was trying to form words. On the third night, she woke up at 3:14 a.m. Her phone screen glowed with the time and a strange notification she didn't remember setting. Voice memo saved 3:14 a.m. Her heart pounded. She didn't record anything. She opened the file anyway. Static. Then faintly, a woman's voice. It was whispering something over and over. At first she couldn't understand, but then she caught the last word. Stay. Emily slammed the phone down, her hands shaking. She checked every door, every window. Everything was locked. The night was quiet again. The next morning, she called the realtor, half embarrassed, half terrified. The woman on the other end hesitated when Emily mentioned the whispers. Look, the agent said softly, that house has a history. But it's just stories. People hear things sometimes. You shouldn't worry. Emily pressed. What kind of stories? A pause. Then the voice came back, lower this time. About the couple who lived there before you. They went missing in 2019. No forced entry, no goodbye notes, just gone. Emily hung up. Her stomach twisted. She'd been sleeping in their bedroom. That night, she couldn't rest. She sat in bed with a flashlight, watching shadows crawl along the walls. The air felt heavy, almost thick. And somewhere deep within the silence, she heard it again. A whisper. But this time it wasn't just a single voice. There were two, a man and a woman. Their words soft, overlapping, like a lullaby played backward. She couldn't understand them, but they sounded sad. She whispered back without thinking, "Who's there?" The whispers stopped. Silence swallowed the room. Then, from the corner near her closet, came the faint creak of a door slowly opening.
Emily barely slept after that night. Every sound made her flinch, the pipes, the wind, even her own breath. By morning, she decided to prove to herself there was a logical explanation. She grabbed her phone and started recording the noises. Creaks, faint whispers, the subtle pulse of something moving behind the walls. Hours later, she listened back to the recordings. At first, only static. Then, something new. A whisper, very close to the microphone. Her own name, Emily. Her blood ran cold. She dropped the phone, nearly cracking the screen. There was no one else in the house. That afternoon, she went into town, a small, quiet place where everyone seemed to know everyone else. At the cafe, she asked about her house. The waitress froze for a moment. "She mean the Watson place?" she asked. Emily nodded. The woman's smile faded. They were good people, never caused trouble. One night, the husband called 911, said he heard voices in the walls. When the police arrived, the house was empty, doors locked from the inside. Emily swallowed hard. Did they ever find them? The woman shook her head. Not a trace. When Emily returned home, dusk had fallen. The sky was purple and gray, and a storm rolled in from the hills. Thunder growled in the distance. Inside, she noticed something odd on the hallway wall, a small crack near the baseboard. When she crouched down to inspect it, she realized it wasn't a crack. It was a narrow gap, like a hidden seam. She pressed against it, and a thin panel shifted open with a faint click. Behind it, darkness and air, cold, stale, as if untouched for years. She aimed her flashlight inside. A narrow crawl space stretched between the walls, wires tangled like veins. And there, faint outlines, boxes, papers. One of them had a photo on top. She reached in and pulled it out. It was a faded Polaroid, a man and woman smiling on the front porch of her house. In the bottom corner, someone had scribbled, "We hear them too." Emily froze. Behind her, deep inside the walls, came a low murmur, and this time it was unmistakable. The whispers were laughing. The storm outside grew violent. Rain pounded against the windows. Thunder cracked overhead. Emily stood frozen, staring at the dark opening in her wall. Every instinct told her to leave, but something stronger pulled her closer, a strange mix of fear and compassion. Whoever those whispers were, they sounded trapped, and now she had proof. She grabbed her flashlight and crawled inside. The narrow passage smelled of dust and decay. Cobwebs brushed against her face. Her knees scraped against splintered wood. The whispering grew louder the deeper she went. Not words, tones, like someone trying to speak but choking on air. She followed the sound to a small chamber between the walls. Inside, she found old furniture, a chair,
a broken lamp, and several cardboard boxes covered in dust. On the floor lay an old cassette recorder, half buried in debris. Her fingers trembled as she pressed play. The tape hissed, then a man's voice filled the small space. "If someone finds this, we're still here. The house, it listens. It learns your voice. Don't answer it." Then silence, static, and faintly a woman's sob. Emily's breath quickened. Her flashlight flickered. In that brief strobe of light, she saw something. Faint impressions on the dusty wall, like handprints pressed from the inside. Suddenly, the passage behind her groaned. Wood splintered. The opening she crawled through began to close, as if the house itself was shifting. Panic surged through her. She scrambled toward the light, clawing at the walls. Her flashlight fell and rolled away, landing beside the recorder. And then, right by her ear, a voice whispered, soft, calm, almost kind, "Don't leave us." Emily screamed, pushing forward until she burst through the loose panel and fell into her hallway, gasping for air. The door behind her slammed shut on its own. She stared, shaking, heart pounding. The whispering stopped. Only the sound of the storm remained. And then, faintly through the wood, she heard the tape recorder still playing a slow rewind sound. Then her own voice, "Don't leave us."
By morning, the storm had passed. The world outside looked calm again, almost peaceful. But inside the house, the silence felt heavier than ever. Emily packed her suitcase without thinking. She didn't even bother folding clothes, but just threw everything in. Her hands still shook. Her throat was raw from screaming. Every creak in the floor made her flinch. Every reflection in the window looked like someone standing behind her. She just wanted out. As she dragged her bag down the stairs, she noticed the old cassette recorder lying by the front door. The tape had stopped spinning, but the recorder was still on, faintly humming, as if waiting. She hesitated, then picked it up and pressed stop. Static crackled, and for just a second she thought she heard breathing, not from the tape, from the hallway behind her. She turned slowly. No one there, just the house, still, patient, watching. Her keys jingled as she reached for the front door. When she opened it, cold air rushed in, and she swore she heard it again, a whisper, this time clear. "You can leave, but you'll come back." She froze. She glanced over her shoulder, the empty living room, sunlight spilling across the floorboards, dust swirling in the air like faint smoke. Then she stepped outside. The door closed behind her with a slow, heavy click. She drove away without looking back. For weeks afterward, she stayed in a motel across town. She told herself she'd never go back to that place. But sometimes late at night, she'd awake to the faintest sound near her ear, a whisper. It always said the same word, home. And one morning, when the motel clerk came to clean her room, the bed was made, the keys were gone, and her phone was sitting on the nightstand. The screen showed a single new voice memo. Recorded, Maple Hollow Road, 3:14 a.m.